Andy Johnson. We are looking at the basic skills lesson plate template. Starts with the purpose statement. What is your purpose? Students will learn about, insert skill, or students will learn how to, insert skill. Now, most teachers teach the skill, then reinforce the skill with some sort of activity. Assessment comes later, formalized assessment. They use informal assessment, observation, and reflection as forms of assessment to see if students are learning. The purpose statement, sometimes the goal, should be one sentence. Now, some of you are having trouble with a purpose statement. It may be easier to use a behavioral objective, and that's okay. But again, in my experience, most teachers teach the skill and then reinforce the skill. They do not think in terms of behavioral objectives. But you can include it for this assignment if it is easier for you. What behavior do you want to see at the end of the lesson? One sentence, a behavior. And usually this is some sort of activity but it's some behavior. Students will be able to complete 5 maze sentences using SL beginning blends as target words. I can say yes or no if students are able to do that. Given 7 sentences, students will be able to underline the nouns in each. If I'm teaching nouns, I can say yes or no. Students will be able to put the long A word with the correct picture. Yes, no. All right. So I am teaching towards that behavioral objective. Whether you use a purpose statement and you also include a behavioral objective, purpose statement is more global, behavior is more specific. Whatever you use, all the input must support that. Include only that which supports the behavioral objective or purpose statement. Use list or outline form here. What do students need to know to achieve your learning objective? This is what you'll tell them, and you use kid terms, words that students can understand. Don't use dictionary definitions. Explain what the skill is. Depending on the skill, sometimes you have to model it, or sometimes you have to simply show lots of examples. For example, long division, I would have to model that skill. A thinking skill, I would model it. A letter sound, I would simply show lots of examples. Here you need to tell if you're using a smartboard or a PowerPoint, and again, use list or outline form, short abbreviated sentences just like I'm doing here. I'm using that to guide me. Do not use automatic numbering or outline. Turn it off. It messes with the margins, makes it much harder. Simply put a number and then a letter to support the statement that you are making. Notice you can see the structure and the sequence. Someone could pick this up and teach with this lesson plan form. Guided practice is where you practice the skill under your guidance. Take the students through the skill. They should all be actively engaged here, all doing something, going through the skill. If you may practice identifying nouns or long A words, whatever, but you are providing structure with a gradual release of your responsibility. For example, do it in a large group, maybe turn to a partner, and then by yourself. This should get students ready for independent practice. Often the guided practice is similar in form to the independent practice. They should be able to use the skill or do the skill, and formative assessment often happens here. Are students getting? I'm observing, I'm watching. So this has lots of structure to practice, but you're also observing to see if students are getting the skill. Independent practice, students reinforce, extend practice, or apply their learning. That is the purpose, not assessment, although assessment often occurs here. But I believe the focus should be on teaching and learning the skill, and this should be used to practice. I believe you should assess at specific spots in the curriculum and not every lesson. We need to trust our students to learn. Here, students practice what they have learned. You should have 95 to 100% success ratio here. Students may do the guided practice independently, or students may apply the skill somehow in an authentic activity. For example, if I'm teaching the short A sound, I may have students in their journal describe something that makes them mad. This is what I mean by teach a little bit and then have an activity to reinforce what you're teaching. This is my view. Learning is never complete in one instance. You have to hit the skills over and over through time.